Do we got any volume, Jen?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly. How about you, Greg?
Yep, got it.
I got my my new super gigging out internet speed going here. So we'll wait for a few people to roll on in, and let me open one other thing up. How are you boys doing today?
Pretty good, man. It's crazy busy. I'm gonna try to switch over here, buddy. I'm gonna see if this works.
No. Oh, remember when it just V'd right back up last year?
A lot of background noise there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I
Yes,
can
we
hear
can.
you. Yep, I can hear you. Mike or Matt's on the trading floor right now.
Now I'm going to change my video
No, I think he did it.
also.
Gotcha. And we are live, just so we all know.
Well, there you go. I don't know. Maybe the side view of you, Matt, is maybe the better view. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can adjust this here a little bit. I'm in the Hampton corporate offices here. You want the side view? I'll do the side view. Which one do you want?
No, you're good, babe. I'm not just giving you a hard time.
This is my ski jacket. I went skiing yesterday.
The Hampton lumber offices that were recently upgraded. For some reason, I don't have the live stream on my LinkedIn timeline here. For some reason, it's not popping on, so I can't make any comments. But that's probably okay. So we'll kick it off here in a second. Wait for a few more people to stream in. There it is. Boom. Pull it up there.
It's like Greg and I both got our high and tight haircuts in the last week.
That's it.
Yours looks a lot better than mine.
It's this is regulation cut here. The thing is they always want to ask me if they want to give me the military discount, and I go no.
So
Whatever you say, Master Chief.
We'll kick it off. So welcome to This Week in Lumber with Matt Beamer from Hampton Lumber Sales, Greg Riley from Sitka, USA. I'd like to say this is probably our 50th stream, gentlemen. And I've seen a lot of people trying to copy it and do the same thing, but there is nothing like the original gangsters here on this one. The OGs that started this, kind of setting the trend and talking about live lumber. So what we talk about is different trends and so forth in the lumber industry that we see happening. So a couple things I wanted to kick it off with. I just got back from a logistical company downstairs in trucking, and a couple things they said was we have 110 desire for trucks with 100 trucks, and flatbeds, forget about it. If you have 50-foot containers, a lot easier to ship than flatbeds. And I think we're seeing that all the time. And Greg, when we first started talking logistics this week, I mean, how many calls are we getting from customers every day? First of all, looking for quick loads, but secondly, loads that just trucks are hard to get underneath, right? And it's not because people won't pay up; it's just hard to fill in the lanes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've cried uncle a couple of times today, where honestly, I've been doing this for a long time, and my mantra always is, hey, everything at a price, and that's partially true, but it's not completely true in this environment. There's more to it than that. And yeah, I'm actually at my wit's end because I've got so many people all asking the same thing. And, I pride myself on being able to provide a high level of service and give people, a good answer. And I'm stumped. Matt, help me out.
No, it's just gotten worse. Trucking has gotten worse for sure in the last 3 weeks, and really since the beginning of the year. I mean, I was kind of cruising along with my trucking, mostly the trucking like in and around Texas, through 2021. And then about halfway through January, it seemed like the trucking reliability factor just dropped. It plunged. It went from like a 8 or a 9 to like a 4 or a 5 at best. and it's still a 4 or 5, if not worse. We're rebooking trucks. We're paying twice as much as we used to pay. You know, we've got trucks that haven't moved because they're sold to the wrong place. And I got a truck that I sold from Portland to Denver. Now, I don't know how many trucks in my career I've shipped from Portland to Denver, but it's thousands. And we can't move it. We're offering $4,000 to move a semi, and nobody will take it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to understand how this resolves itself. So we've got, obviously, mills in Canada, and I guess to a lesser degree in the U.S. with big buildups in inventory because they're not able to get as many rail cars as they normally get. I don't understand. Winter comes every year. Why does it seem that like every year now it's more of an issue than it ever was?
Yeah, so that's what we
and they keep raising the rates on us too. It's great, isn't it?
The rail
business
business
is like it's up like 10 or 15% in the last 3 months, and yet the service has gone down by 10 or 15% at least.
Well, the worse the service is, then that's more of the price increase, right? So it's the only business where like, hey, our service is really shitty, so we need to increase our price more.
I'm glad you said it.
My question on that, I had a call from a person that used our platform in Indy today, and he wanted me to know what I thought. And I kind of referred, you know what I told him, Greg? I referred back to the poll that you had 3 or 4 weeks ago. And whoever's on this call, none of you got it right where it was going. None of us did, right?
Right.
But based on where we voted, I didn't. And you remember how we're like, well, it looks like it could go. Like, how many people, Greg, on that poll said it could go to? I think what was the third choice, the fourth, to 2,000 or
2,000 or more, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nobody. Everybody took the middle or bet on the downside, right? And maybe there may have been some people. So I don't want to leave people out, but there was a very small amount of people that bit on this. So I led off the conversation with them like, hey man, like I kind of pride myself in being in the business a long time and thinking what where I think it's going to go. It did, a lot of stuff shows up. This whole thing with rail cars and all that. I mean, everything. And Matt, you talked about 2 weeks ago. There's stuff that's been sold in January and all that these people want to turn into cash. It's just not shipping, right?
No, the CN's doing a bad job. The UP's doing a bad job. The BN's doing a bad job. Doesn't matter what railroad. I don't really do much on the CSX or the NS, but I'm certain that they're probably not doing a very good job either. But lumber industry, we feel like is a big deal to us because we're in it. We've been doing it our whole lives, and but when the railroads look at the lumber business, they just see a pain in the ass. We're nothing compared to coal or natural gas or automobile parts or sand or just other industries that require more effort and they pay more. I don't. We're just like a blip on the railroads, behind. They just don't really care about us, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So I led off with that and you said, hey, your customers you're talking to, and this guy's a home builder and or I should say a large truss facility that ships to home builders. He goes, is anybody in your network across North America saying they're slowing down? And I'm like, not really, except kind of the opposite, right? I mean, he goes, that's what the feeling he was getting because he ships all over the East Coast down to the South. I'm like, I haven't seen it, unless I'm wrong. Have you guys had any conversation with anybody taking weather out that their business is slowing down at all? I haven't.
No. I mean, if anything, it seems like I have a lot of people whose business is accelerating, and I'm not sure how much of it is, obviously inventory costs in the field are substantially below replacement cost, and not everybody does the best job of staying up on the market. And how much business gets pulled forward because the market price on something is 17 or 1800 and someone's selling it for 1200, right? And because they have an inventory cost of 800.
Yeah,
How much business gets pulled forward? And then the other conversation I had with somebody goes, hey, we're trying to stay at 55 or 60 days of inventory, but I'm well over 100 because I have to keep buying and backfilling because of the delay in shipment. I'm trying to understand, how much of the industry is really at 100 days of inventory. Oh, my battery's running low. I got to charge it up. Hang on a second here. Take it over, Matt.
Well, I was going to ask you a question. Actually, I was kind of
Okay.
curious. Maybe Ashley can answer this, but
I'm here.
I just got offered a whole bunch of Euro premium going into Cape Canaveral.
Yeah.
Is Cape Canaveral a bad place to ship lumber out of right now?
Well, I guess my question is, Cape Canaveral, there's a little bit of an issue down there right now. And I know you probably dealt with this out of Houston over recently with, the customs not happy with the heat treatment documentation. And we've had some delays down there, and that's kind of carried over. Apparently someone in Houston told U.S. Customs that they had no problem in Cape Canaveral, and now everyone has a problem in Cape Canaveral. They unloaded 3 vessels last week there, and from what I understand, the vast majority of it is on customs hold right now.
In Cape Canaveral.
Yep.
That might be why I'm being offered lumber from Cape Canaveral. Here, let my problem be your problem, Mr. Customer. Yeah.
So look, we talked about the logistical part. We talked about, I would guess at some point this cart situation will start to get taken care of. I don't know. We'll know after the fact generally. But the pull from customers, one of the things we've always talked about are some of these multi-family jobs shutting down because of high prices, or are people used to high prices and have built them in this time, right? Our jobs a year ago, people were telling us when we got above 1,000, we're just not going to do the jobs, right? I'm not seeing as much of that right now. Are you?
I'm definitely seeing a slowdown in the orders being placed at these price levels. And one of the challenges I've had, in the last couple of days, I've had a lot of people come. I shouldn't say a lot. I've had several come with relatively quick starting jobs, i.e., starting in 30 days, and hey, what can you do on this? And honestly, right now, I can't do much because I'm backed up with the business that I have, and I'm kind of taking a stance now is I need to take care of all the customers and the business that I have, and try not to create new problems. I had a mill say, "Hey, what are you doing today?" I go, I'm taking care of the business that I have right now. I'm not trying to create more first rule of holes: stop digging.
Right. Or just buy a new shovel, a bigger one.
I'm looking for a backhoe right now.
Ashley, I've had some people point blank tell me that they're going to, resist these newer prices. But at the same time, my business has been accelerating here the last couple of weeks. So it's, you can, I guess you just read it chalk it up to frustration, and I don't really read a lot into it. I read into it when a guy gives me a PO, or doesn't really. That's kind of how I judge the market. And right now the market there's plenty of people trying to buy lumber and not as many people trying to sell lumber. So until that formula changes, just read the tea leaves. It's like, how many people need to buy something today and how many people need to sell something today? Well, right now, Matt,
you always
in
ask
favor of the sellers.
You always ask me on the platform what I'm seeing. I saw a lot of sellers disappear their offers to sell and started bidding, right? Some of them. So, and I called one guy. I'm like, "Hey, man, why aren't you selling?" He goes, I quit selling. I'm just buying stuff now. Yeah. Like, okay, I get it, but at like $1,500, you didn't think it was a good. So are we in? I guess my question is: we talked about being in extra innings right now, and Greg, you've said it. These numbers, and again, it's all time. These numbers are unsustainable at some point.
Yeah.
Where are we in this cycle right now? I mean, I would think you always talk about when people go out in their yard and all. So the guy I was talking to today said, I got to keep so much inventory. I got a lot of cars on order that if they hit me all right now, I'd have plenty, right? But
Right.
he's buying because he can't manage the order file right now, and he's buying whatever he can to manage the order file.
And I think that's where the whole marketplace is the on order. The whole marketplace has lots of lumber on order, and their on hand inventory is dropping. So they're trying to backfill that. But I mean, I guess back to, your question about, where are we in the market? I mean, there's I see at some levels, there's a level of panic. And I guess, and to Matt's point, you're going to get some demand destruction at these prices. At the multifamily level, there's going to be projects that are going to get delayed from these prices. There's no question about it. Now, and the higher we go, the more will get delayed. My big question is, and this was the canary last year in the coal mine. When do you see a slowdown in the home center business? Okay. They've been building inventory to this point, and at what point do they back off and push that, because their prices adjust very quickly, because the only lumber that's priced is what's in the store. All the wood that's in their VMIs in their warehouses is, for the most part, is market price. So their prices adjust very quickly to these higher numbers.
Yeah, I think some of these big box stores, not from what other people have told me, kind of got outside of their wheelhouse last year in the move up and got a little specky where they normally didn't. I mean, but maybe that is because they were buying for demand that they see in their algorithm that shows them what they should buy. And when that finally, like with everyone, that slows down, maybe that's what turns markets, right?
They were the first ones to take the gas, their foot off the gas pedal last year.
Yeah, good point.
In May. And then in June, we saw the Eiffel Tower market of all time. We went from 400 to 1700 back to 400.
Yeah. So look, all right. So here's a question. A lot of people that watch us are investors and non-industry people. Are VC funds, private equity that are invested in anywhere from home builders to manufacturers to all kinds of stuff. What would you sum up to them? What's happening right now? Because they are so far removed from the supply chain. They sometimes see it right now and they can't figure out why it went up and what happened and what is happening and how does it affect their the houses that are being built. I see all these things online now. Houses are up this much money and that much money. Where does the rubber meet the road on high prices right now like this relative to a house being built now, house being built in 60 days, that type of thing?
I mean, I'll give you my perspective, Ash, and it's beyond just the lumber business. Is we're still dealing with the unprecedented amount of liquidity that got put into the marketplace in 2020 and 2021.
Good point.
I mean, we're still on overdrive, and that money is still sloshing around and going places. In terms of home prices, home demand, there's a really good tailwind. There's a really good tailwind right there. Let's look at what happens to interest rates over the next 60, 90, 120 days. And, that'll give us the first sign of a slowing in home sales. In terms of construction, I feel that the home builders are, kind of at a max level that they can operate under, given labor, all of the material shortages, et cetera. We've talked about the backlog of, authorized but not started homes and the backlog of homes under construction and, how many days that is. So I look at the home building side. Hey, probably great for at least another, another 6 months. That I'm back to, hey, and I also believe that the supply transportation issues that we have right now are probably going to take longer than I would normally think to fully resolve themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the pandemic and the results of the pandemic, due to policies, and you can look at the lumber business as related to the real estate business, right? So if you talk to your little realtor buddy, you might have a friend that's a realtor, and he'll tell you what the local Chicago market makeup is. I've got one, and he tells me what the Portland market makeup is, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. There's more buyers and less sellers, right? So at the retail level, for me to go out and buy another home, I just did this in June. It was really tough back in June. It's gotten tougher. So a friend of mine I was talking to yesterday, a realtor, he said he listed a home like on Sunday, and by Monday he had 10 offers on it. I mean, that kind of stuff, because the volume of inventory being listed in the Portland metro area is shrinking. And at the same time, the number of buyers is at least static, and in a lot of cases increasing, because people, want to keep moving, and there's just not enough housing. There's not enough. Even rents have gone back up in Portland, and Portland isn't really a desirable place to move to right now. I mean, like nationally, we've gotten some pretty bad press the last couple of years, and a lot of people are moving out. They're moving to Idaho or Arizona or Texas or something, So I don't know. It just seems to me like the lumber business is really no different than the real estate business. There's less inventory available for people when they want it, and so therefore the money gets bid up. And there's lots of money floating around, like Greg alluded to. There's just lots of money floating around America right now.
Yeah. So somebody just put, people are still moving to Portland, Oregon? ? With a little wink and a nod. I think
They are. Believe it or not, there's still lots of people moving here.
Where there's nobody moving is that Chicago's where nobody's moving to.
Yeah, Portland's a great place to live. If you're into the outdoors, if you like to ski, fish, hunt, hike, you can't really beat it. We don't have to shovel rain, so we have a pretty mild climate here.
Yeah. So we always talk about this, and there's not a real great answer for it. There's just suggestions. You're a buyer at a multifamily place, a retail yard, a truss plant, wherever, a large framer. And then there's, I consider Matt, you and Greg pretty astute as how you run your inventory, right? You guys are usually the first ones in when it starts moving. You usually get out pretty good. We all get nicked up every now and then. Where the heck are you seeing this right now? What are you guys doing? Like, what bits of advice can you say on here? Because we're starting to get back into uncharted waters again. What are you guys doing? And maybe share with us some feedback you get from your customers and what you tell them. Because I guarantee you, I know they lean on you guys for a lot of advice lately.
So I've had a couple of conversations with multifamily, and what I've told them is that if they absolutely need to start something between now and, April, May, then they really don't have a whole lot of choice, and they should probably buy whatever is, the phase one minimum, get that bought and locked down, because based on the current shipping time, you're not going to get product till late March or April at this point anyhow. If you can delay, I'm telling people, hey, you should look to delay until the third or fourth quarter, because if there's going to be an adjustment from today's prices, that's when you're going to see it. Third, fourth quarter, period. In terms of my inventory, I think I kind of indicated what it is I've got a serious backlog of orders. Not only is trucking difficult, but I've got a distribution location that has some operational issues that, I'm shipping 1/3 to 25 to 30% of what my normal daily outflow is. So I need to correct that. so at this point, I'm just trying to deal with what I have on my plate. And in terms of new buying or selling, I'm indifferent right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're basically saying April and May, you got it and you don't own it yet. You probably should look at buying that. Yeah, it makes sense. Matt, what about you?
Well, I'm not really going out and trying to buy more lumber now than what I already bought in the last month. I feel like I bought enough, and so now I'm just trying to manage that. Right, I'm trying to manage shipments as best I. Basically, my job is now a logistics issue. It's not a business decision where I'm trying to how much money I'm going to make or lose. I'm not even really thinking about that right now. I'm just thinking about how can I get this stuff shipped, and it's both rail cars.
How can I take care of my customers?
Yeah. So whatever I've known in previous years in terms of how to run my business is kind of out the window right now. I'm more just dealing with problems and headaches, and it's all related to transportation issues. It's none of it has to do with pure business. My advice to customers is if you don't have enough lumber bought right now, well, there's not much I can do for you. My inventory is on fumes. I'm just waiting for cars to come in, and as soon as they arrive, they just get shipped right back out as fast as possible. So I can't build inventory right now. And then at $1,400 or $1,500 for delivery, if I want to just go out and buy some cash lumber, that's what I got to pay for it. I don't want to build inventory. I don't want to have 5 million feet of $1,500 laying around on April 1st, right? I just don't want that. That's not something I'm interested in. I think that's a risky decision, and I'm not gonna make that decision. But what I would advise people, if they have some inventory that's unsold coming into their yards, protect it, because it's valuable right now. I mean, just getting lumber in your yard is the problem. That's really where we're at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Ash, one of my things is whether you're, wherever you are in the chain at this point in time, I think the best advice is less is more right now. And I mean, the best thing that retail lumber yards can do right now is, hey, get to replacement costs, and how do you maximize the value of the inventory you have? Worry less about buying more at these prices, and focus on how do you maximize the value, provide a high level of service to your customers. That's my advice.
So one of the last things, talking to the far end of the chain right now, when you actually pick up the phone and talk to the mills that you talk to in Eastern Canada, Greg, and other places, and Matt, when you talk to the Pacific Northwest mills and the mills in BC, Alberta, what is that conversation like right now? I mean, one of the guys told me one of the big mills out west, he hasn't even been able to buy from for 3 or 4 days now, business days, right? So
I can't even call in favors right now. I mean,
yeah, but what's the
I've been trying.
What's the conversation talking to a big spruce mill, a big U.S. mill? What are they saying right now?
Well, the U.S. mills are actually doing business. I'm buying lumber from U.S. mills. I bought lumber from U.S. mills yesterday. The Canadian mills, a little different story. They seem to have more problems with shipping and more restrictions on selling meat product. So out west here, I'm kind of drawing blanks on Western spruce, Western lumber. There's a little bit of Western Doug fir larch, Doug fir that's being sold. There's a little bit of Western product that's being sold, but it's not anything like what it used to be. So it's just a trickle. I think honestly, if you're a spruce guy, you probably have better luck getting quoted out of the East right now, to tell you the truth.
No, well, I mean, the East has limited offerings at this point. I mean, because the rail, I mean, I've got it. I talked to a mill. Hey, I normally get 30 cars in my mill a week. I got 5 on Monday, and I'm supposed to get 5 on Friday. All of a sudden, that puts his ship time like late March, because he's shipping 1/3 of what he normally ships. Most of my conversations, Ash, are, kind of similar to what we're saying is, hey, we've got production issues, and we've got shipping availability issues. So, we're far out in shipment, and, price is less relevant. I just, one thing, Matt, is like, so from like your Hampton mills, what's the current shipping window from those mills right now? Are you?
I mean, we're not any different than the rest of the industry. We have lots of people trying to buy lumber from us and not as many cars for sales that would satisfy everybody. But, when we do list cars out for sale, it's anywhere from week of 228 to say 314 is sort of where all the trading has been. There are some exceptions. It's, finger joint studs are into April. Long lengths, whether it's green or dry long lengths, that's into April. I mean, there are some things that are really not commodities anymore. They're more specialty items that there's just massive order files on. But for regular, stud lumber and 2 and better lumber that we make and sell, I mean, we're in that 228 to 314 time frame.
Which is relatively quick compared to a lot of the Canadian mills, right?
Right. And, you don't have to worry about clearing customs either. It's already on this side of the border. So the problem we're having is the same problem the Canadians are having. We're not really getting that great a service from the UP or the BN either. We're all fighting for rail cars right now. And it's a moving, fluid situation that it seems like what you originally said at the beginning of this conversation is probably the most accurate of all is, we've been dealing with these railroad problems for 5 or 6 years in a row now, maybe even longer than that. It seems like it happens every winter. Maybe they prepare for it one of these years, but they don't.
Yeah, well, but just so everybody knows, the mills don't quit making lumber usually when there's shipping problems, and they only have a finite amount where they can store it, right? What happens to that lumber if they're that far back?
I mean, if you're having trouble getting rail cars in the West, you'll just switch gears and ship as many trucks as you possibly can, right? I mean, that would be your most obvious thing to do is just pump as much lumber into the local market as you possibly could, right? And then eventually you saturate the trucking lanes, so now you've got another problem. But it would take some of the heat off your rail situation temporarily.
Brian just had a good point. He said there's no such thing as favors from Canadian mills unless you have pictures of them with farm animals.
We're going to get censored for that?
Yeah.
Hopefully not. So, hey, one thing I heard too, a guy told me yesterday, green Doug fir had such a discount. It's getting into areas of the Midwest, which never used that much green Doug fir for a long time. You know why? Because they need the fiber.
Right.
Big discount on green Doug fir. It found its ways into Missouri, Illinois, other locations, Iowa that never used green Doug fir before. Because you know what? At a price, anybody can use anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw this last time we had a run up in price. The species switching. It's like there's no atheist in a foxhole. I mean, there's the species. People are much more open to taking AFS at this point in time.
Right.
Back when Greg started in the lumber business,
that's any fine stick, Matt.
Yeah, no. When you first started, everybody used green lumber because they didn't have kilns back then.
What's up with that, man?
Wow. No. It was air dried. No. It was dried. It was air dried.
Back in '94, I remember reading a book about the history of the lumber business as a rookie. Somebody gave me a book that I had to read to learn something about lumber. And
How to Buy and Sell Lumber by David.
Yeah, like one of those types of books, But they mentioned in the 50s and 60s that everybody used green lumber, like Denver, green Doug fir. That's there people in Denver where that's all they bought was green hem fir and green Doug fir, and I was kind of mystified by that. Now you tell somebody in Denver to buy some green Doug fir, they look at you funny, like what?
Yeah.
But you remember, there was those mills that they would run and like run from May through the next May and stack the lumber up to air dry, and then they'd start cutting the lumber from the year before that had been dried, right?
That was back when you mailed your offering list to somebody.
Look at we took 45 minutes up already. There's 115 trucks up on MX right now and cars. One thing is we have a bunch of Brazilian. We are getting the exclusive to list that 3/4 CDX Struck One Tico stamp coming in. It's unloaded right now on the East Coast, and It's square edge. So we're gonna list that up here. There's a lot of other stuff listed. So I want to make sure. And Greg, you have a bid on dry dug fir right now on the platform.
All right. Well, let's we'll shut it down. Let's see if we can hit that. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Good. See you guys.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
Thank you.